Welcome to Education World. This is Reshma and I'm a special correspondent with the Education World. I'm joined by two renowned experts today as we discuss this issue on how to beat exam stress. Now, this becomes very relevant right now because lakhs of students are all set to face their board exams and competitive exams and also final exams in the upcoming months. Now, as the exam dates approach closer, a lot of parents and children tend to have a very different set of concern. So we have with us Dr. Ali Khwaja, who is very popularly known as a top career counselor and guide for students. And we also have renowned nutritionist, Ms. Ishi Khosla, joining us. So to introduce them in brief, in no particular order, Dr. Ali is an engineering graduate from the Indian Institute of Science and IIT Bombay, MIE, MIIM. He's a PhD holder in behavioral sciences. He's always chosen to be a freelancer because he prioritizes joy at work. He is the founder and chairman of Banjara Academy, an institution that is committed to improving quality of life. He also nurtures a team of 300 volunteers who've been giving free service in 10 hospitals and also at the Academy's own counseling centers. He is an author of more than 30 books and has 80 booklets to his credit. Welcome, Dr. Khwaja. Next, to introduce Ms. Ishi, she is a very well-known practicing clinical nutritionist, columnist, author, entrepreneur, and researcher. Ms. Khosla also founded the Celiac Society of India. It's the first of its kind, which is spreading awareness about gluten-related disorders in India and internationally. She is a recipient of several awards, and one such is the President's Award for her work in the field of nutrition. She was also bestowed the Women's Achievers Award in the field of nutrition by the Imperial and Cancer Patient AIDS Association. Welcome, Ms. Ishi.
Thank you.
So we'll start this discussion by asking Dr. Ali Khwaja a very common concern that we have, a very relevant concern. Now, students are getting back to school, getting back to writing exams physically after 2 years of a pandemic-induced closure of schools. Now, a lot of them could have also forgotten what really exams feel like and, what it is like to be in an exam hall. In such a situation, what are some ways in which these children can be helped, and what are some immediate preparations that they need to do?
If you have learned cycling, but you haven't used your cycle for the last 2 years, and now you feel that, no, now I do need to get back to my cycle. What do? You get onto the cycle, you tell yourself, I know how to cycle, I've learned it earlier, and I'm going to stumble, I'm going to hesitate, I'm going to have a little bit of, reticency, but with a little bit of practice, I will get going. That's exactly the situation. 2 years seems a very long time, but before that, you did give exams every year. None of us have escaped that, right? We have been giving those exams. Secondly, it's your attitude towards exams. Exams of life are there every possible way. Everything is an exam. When your girlfriend refuses to talk to you, it's an exam how to handle her. When your parents refuse to give you pocket money, it's an exam how to convince your dad and get that money out of him. Day in and day out, we are doing that. So if you give yourself some positive strokes, if you just start practicing, that is a key word. Whatever time you've got left before the exams, whether the school gives you preparatory exams or not, you practice short things and you do that. And tell yourself that I am not going to fail, I'm not going to be miserable, but the more effort I put in, the better results I will get. That's all that exams are all about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I think one thing that definitely comes with examinations, anxiety. So if you were to give, a 3-point prescription, very 3 specific points on how students can deal with exam anxiety, what would that be?
Mark out those portions or those areas where you have anxiety. We all have that. Oh, this 4th chapter is so horrible, I can't do. This particular, formulae and this calculation is going above my head. Mark out all those. Whenever you are in a good mood and whenever you are fresh, work on them. Take help from them. And the moment, if you have 10 like that, even if you have surpassed 2 out of that, and now you're comfortable with that, make a note, maybe put it up next to your table on that notice board or something. Hey, I have overcome these 2. So whenever you feel that you're making progress, it helps you to move forward. Then I'm sure, Ms. Khosla will give you more details on it. Sometimes very simple things like, oxygen and air, reduce anxiety, sip water continuously, do deep breathing. If you are into yoga and pranayama, nothing like it. Even if you're not, just sit down and do deep breathing every now and then. See how it, helps you to move and do these things. Be in positive company. That's very important. You have these doomsday prophets. Hey, that fourth chapter, horrible, yaar. I don't think we will do that. The more you listen to such people, the more you get pulled down. So keep away from all these doomsday prophets, as we call it, and finally talk it over with reliable people. Whoever is nice to you, whoever gives you positive strokes, no? Be it your parents, be it your teachers, be it your good friends, be it a counselor, anybody, but keep talking it out.
Absolutely. I think that's a really important point indeed, speaking out concerns. Now, while we're on this topic around anxiety, Ms. Ishi, if you can tell us, a lot of children tend to develop eating and sleep disorders around exams. So what is one way in which this can be addressed immediately, someone like parents who are with them every day, what are some ways in which parents can help them out with these?
Yeah, I think you're addressing a really important area, and it's not like we don't understand the importance of this, but somehow we do not give enough importance when it comes to practical management of these issues. We don't address these issues practically, and we succumb to eating comfort foods, which is not a bad thing, but comfort foods do not have to be junk foods. Right. So what happens typically is both the parents also are feeling anxious, and they feel that getting children the food that they would love, or they love, which they have been forbidden, or they have been controlled for, say junk food or processed food, or their favorite instant noodles, or their favorite fast food joints. They want to treat the kids with those kind of foods to calm them down, to help them, and which is counterproductive. So I think we try to calm ourselves down with the wrong foods, and the students also reach out for those because they are easily available, they are low cost, and everything today, good, bad, indifferent, is at your doorstep anyway. So it's not difficult to reach out for those foods, and it does make you feel good temporarily, but certainly it keeps you away from your goals as a student. It keeps you away from feeling calmer. It rather makes it worse. It makes you tired. It makes you lethargic. It lowers, like Dr. Ali just said, oxygen. It lowers the functionality of your body and lessens the oxygen, because these are all toxic foods, and the body's demands on body is like a machine. Let's face it. It's like how you treat it will depend. How you treat it will determine how you perform. So if you put in bad things, toxic things, you're not going to get efficiency, mind or body, and sleep. Everything gets disturbed. So I think it's important to remain cognizant of the fact that it is a two-way, chicken and egg. So you use the wrong foods to comfort yourself, and it worsens the situation, and then it sort of sets up a whole cycle. And on the other hand, if you sort of eat the right food, if you eat foods which are good for you, calming for you, if you make the right choices, then your anxiety level also goes down. You can modulate your sleep and anxiety and your memory and your performance by making the right choices. So it's far more critical to understand that you are in the driving seat when it comes to making these choices. And how do you make those decisions is by planning. You must, because it's not for me to tell any student today, or any educated or literate adult for that matter, even an illiterate person knows what is healthy, what is junk. It doesn't need to come from me in this forum, right? Junk food is established as junk. It's known. It's just you have to plan, and you have to see the importance of it, and see what it does to you to transform your life, to your
I
functionality.
think giving up junk food is definitely one aspect to eating right. So, superfoods is a buzzword right now. A lot of people are talking about what is the right food to be eating, what is the kind of supplements that are right. So, if you are to advise children on what is the superfood that they should be eating before exams to keep their energy levels up, yet keep their nerves calm, what would that be?
I wouldn't put it as a superfood conventional label. I would just say the foods that you love. All of us love food. All of us have a relationship with food, but also understand that that relationship should not be toxic. You should eat the food that loves you, and that is a superfood.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So, foods that are good for you are superfoods. So be it fresh vegetables, be it fresh fruits, be it good fats, be it good proteins. These are the foods which the body likes. And good carbohydrates can also come from the right sources, and the carbohydrates can come from whole grains, from brown rice, from quinoa, and the probiotics and the protective foods, as we call them, fermented foods, which are good for your gut. All of these are superfoods.
Okay.
And hydration, water is a superfood because it makes you feel better. So I think not in the convention, you don't have to buy exotic food or pay any extra for supplements. But yes, having talked about supplements, today we are suffering from a huge burden of micronutrient deficiencies. It's called hidden hunger. We are all overnourished. We have too much of food and too much of fat stores, yet we have micronutrient deficiencies which are critical and cutting across cross sections of the society, regardless of economic status. And that comes again from issues regarding malabsorption and the gut. And so for better concentration and functionality, you need to look at supplements of vitamin D, vitamin B12, iron in some cases, not all, and all the vitamin C's for cleansing and the pollution and the all of that toxic overload that we have. So certain vitamins, but I don't expect any student who's listening to pick up these supplements on their own and sort of doing it. They should be having professional advice and addressing these issues.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Ali, coming back to you, when it comes to exams, I think it wouldn't be wrong to say that fear begins at home. It's mostly the first circle of the family and the peers, the cousins of the same age, who pressure these children tend to fall trapped to. So how can this be dealt with?
Let me differentiate between fear and anxiety.
Okay.
Fear is real. Fear is when I know that I have not studied, I'm incapable of producing in the answer sheet, and I know that I have not come to that standard, so I'm going to fail. That is a genuine fear. I'm sure most of you listeners in this program are not in that state. You have put in your studies, whether there was a lockdown, whatever was happening online, offline, you have been putting in some efforts. So you know that you're not going to end up with getting 0% or 20% marks. It's only a question of, do I get 60 or 90 or 75 or whatever? That's what we're talking about, right? So what we are talking about here is anxiety, not fear.
Absolutely.
What will happen? Supposing I go there and I forget to these formulae which I have remembered, will I be able, something goes wrong? That is anxiety. Now, anxiety is described as the interest that you pay on a loan which you have not taken.
Okay.
You have not taken a loan and you're paying interest on it. So you're going on getting anxious. What happens if I forget? It's like those asterisk comics which say that what happens if the heaven falls down on your heads? Anything can happen. We have to give ourselves positive strokes. As you rightly said, keep away from negative people, be it peers, be it parents. If you're unfortunate to have parents also who keep talking, what, you're not studying, you will fail, you will not do this. Please try to insulate yourself. Friends, definitely keep yourself away from that. And keep, at the same time, I also want to tell you, in some of the parents who are watching, that there are some children who have a lot of anxiety and they need support from the parents. They need, at this juncture, they need reassurance that yes, you will do well. Not that, stupid fellow, why aren't you studying? What will happen if you don't study? No. You need to keep reinforcing that. At the same time, remember that there are some students who have zero anxiety, and that causes tremendous anxiety to the parents. 30 days left for the exam, and this guy is still playing cricket. He's still roaming around with his friends. He's still doing this. The anxiety levels and the blood pressure of the parents are going up. Here again, I'd like to tell you, yes, talk, discuss, persuade, but don't go off into extremes. Anxiety will be the accepted. Yes, I am anxious. I am feeling that little apprehension, but I will get.
Correct. So another aspect is also that, most of these children have very clearly chalked out plans on what they want to do in the future. They're very focused on about their career objectives. Now, unfortunately, for some of them, it might not be possible for them to realize their dreams. Plan A need not work always. This results in low self-esteem and low self-confidence. In such case, what is your advice to the student and also to the parents in particular?
Supposing you're going for an exam and you tell yourself that I have set a goal of 100 out of 100, and you land up with 98, you're a disappointed and a depressed person. I lost 2 marks. But if you say, I'm going to do very well, if you compete with yourself, in the last test, I had 85. Now let me see beyond 85 how much more I can get with the preparation that I'm doing. The same thing applies to career goals. I know of lakhs of people, when I ask them what career you want to take up, you know what they say? I want to be IIT, sir. I want to be IIT. I thought IIT is the name of a college. How can a human being become a college? No, sir, I want to become, get IIT. Oh, that means you want to become an engineer. No, sir, I don't want to become an engineer. I want to become IIT. Now, those are the people who are going to have disappointment. There are totally 7,000 good seats in all the IITs put together, and there are more than 7 lakhs or 17 lakh people aspiring for that. So logic says that you're not. But if your goal is, I want to become an engineer, I want to be a software engineer, mechanical engineer, automobile engineer, whatever it is, and I want to aim for the best possible college. I'll give the CT, I'll give the JE, I'll give the JE Advanced, I'll give all the possible tests. If I make it to IIT, it's excellent. If I don't make it, there are NITs, there are triple ITs, there are VIT, there are BITS Pilani, there are innumerable. See, today there is no problem about competition. That's what we are forgetting. When I entered into IIT, we had 5 IITs and nothing else. Today, you have dozens and dozens of IITs, NITs, triple ITs, and that is only within technology and engineering.
That's true.
The options are not limited to engineering and medicine and all that. I want to do MBBS, I didn't get admission, so that should not be a aim. My aim is to be in the health sector. I'm good in biology and chemistry. I'm people oriented. I want to do something which is meaningful in life. I want to help other people. I want to see healing. I may not become a doctor, but I can become an excellent nutritionist like Ms. Khosla. You have more reputation and a greater career than perhaps so many different doctors have. They are also healthcare people. They are also contributing to society as much as an MBBS doctor. So as long as your aim is realistic, you will not be disappointed.
Absolutely. I think that's very reassuring for a lot of children, that there is always a plan B to fall back upon. Now, Dr. Ali, even though we claim to be a very relatively modern society, there's still a lot of stigma attached to seeking help, especially from counselors and mental health experts, psychologists. We always think twice before approaching someone.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about this?
Unfortunately, and this is more so in the elder generation, they sort of, they say that my child can do this. I am there as a parent. I can do so much for my child. Why do I have to send my child? It's almost like, I have failed as a parent if I have to send my child to take advice from somebody. And this happens only in the area of mental health, career guidance, counseling and all. If my child falls sick, I never say that I am the father. I know how to take care of my child. Why should I send him to a doctor? We do it in all other fields. If there's a legal problem, I don't say I will solve it. We go to a legal expert, a qualified legal professional. The same thing applies over here. The process of reducing the stigma is continuously going on. It's far better today than it was 5 years or 15 years back. It will take a long time till we reach that point where it is there. But each one of us can put in our little effort to reduce that stigma. If you have gone to a therapist, a nutritionist, a counselor, a career guidance person, spread the word. Tell them how it benefited to me, how it helped me. You are the best ambassadors to create this thing that matters related to the mind can be taken care of if you are just willing to go to the relevant experts.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, going back to Nazishi, a lot of students have stayed locked at home almost literally for the past 2 years, and they've had very little exercise during this time. So now that, we're drawing close to the exams, what are some basic exercises that these children can be practicing to sort of, help them de-stress a little bit?
Yes, that is also an important aspect of preparation. And before I go there, I was very tempted to add to Dr. Ali's comment on nutrition and rather than being a doctor. And there is, this field has expanded, the importance has grown tremendously. In fact, I was going to apply for medical school, and like all my classmates, because I was a biology student. And when I personally had a transformational experience with my obesity and I managed my weight and I started reading about it, it was fascinating and extremely empowering. And I did not even fill up one medical entrance exam. I just was so drawn to this field. And let me tell you, there is no regret. Rather, I would say, like Dr. Ali says, that today you are in a space where people, it is transforming the whole field, and the way we are seeing it today was even now it was not as it was when we studied it. So today the science of food, and I would not just say nutrition, the science of food has expanded so much, and it goes back to the traditional wisdom and the whole lot of things that we can actually treat diseases, prevent diseases right from the origin. And there is something to be said in a quote which I would be tempted to share here, that if the doctor of today does not become the dietitian of tomorrow, then the dietitian of today will become the doctor of tomorrow. And that you can see how, I experience it almost every day. So to answer your question, I think we have limited time with students and their preparation and the burden of the time, demands on their time. So things which are really outdoor are very restrictive. So I would say they should do things which are active in the house. They can do cardiovascular exercises within their own homes. The first thing is not to keep sitting, because the long hours of sitting are really counterproductive and increase inflammation and reduce the oxygen. So as far as possible, as much as possible, pick up your books and stand, or have a standing desk to begin with. And exercises within yoga are extremely invigorating and energizing, right from breathing exercises to the Surya Namaskars to the other asanas which help in flexibility, and they are also, some of them have a cardiovascular element. So these cardiovascular or aerobic exercises within the yogic exercises are very, very good. And I would strongly recommend, of course, breathing and meditation. So meditation also helps in its own very, very scientific ways. We don't have to have science in everything, but let me tell you, we understand the science. So it's not just a philosophical or a yogic way of life. It's actually very, very, very powerful to improve your concentration, your memory, and to reduce the anxiety which we were talking about among students. It is unfortunately not a part of mainstream advice. It is not a part of mainstream, kind of conversations that, kids are meditating before exams, but certainly there is a place for it. And we must encourage kids to do that, even if it is for short spells, for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, they can find that kind of time, because it improves learning so much. And I particularly was a very anxious student, and when Dr. Ari was talking, I was thinking of my time when I knew everything, and I would just before the exam tell my mother I've forgotten everything. And, so I now know that all of that was a part of my gut, which at that time I didn't know. And today I know that I have healed my gut to a large extent, and I don't feel that. And I wish I had known it at that time. So, one can also look deeper into your own body and seek professional advice, like Dr. Ali said, because these issues, the gut is called the second brain now. So if you're talking about mental health and all of these issues concerning students, we need to look deeper into the gut, into the second brain.
Absolutely. I think one important aspect that has been addressed is, ensuring you have both a healthy body and a healthy brain to sort of be able to perform better. Now, we'll take this discussion forward. We're throwing this discussion open to some of the students and parents who are joining live with us from across the country, and they're here to get their concerns addressed. We also encourage anyone who's watching this discussion to post comments post your questions in the comments section. If time permits, we'll certainly take them up later with the experts. First up, we have Aditya Mani. He is a class 10 student from Amity International School, Pushp Vihar, New Delhi. Aditya, can you please address your question?
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Khwaja and Ms. Khosla. Very enlightening advice. So my first question is for Dr. Khwaja. The past 2 years when we've spent most of our time online, it has been very difficult to form social connections, and normal social constructs have also deconstructed rapidly in front of us. So it has been very difficult to find motivation to actually pursue the aspirations and ambitions that we want to pursue. So I just want to know if you have any advice about how we can gain back that motivation, and if there are some habits we can form to better strengthen that.
There are always certain, good takeaways from bad experiences. When we look back later on these 2 years of the pandemic and the lockdowns and all, there are many people who are going to say that my life has been transformed for the better. Who are these people? These are the people who learn how to take advantage. Now that I have been caught up, have I been able to, for example, improve my relationship with my parents? My parents used to be away most of the time. Now that we are at home, have I used this as a time to improve my health? Have I used this time to explore and find out what are the different careers? Have I been able to talk to different people? Give yourself that thing that there is always some new thing, some change is coming in. If I am open to change, if I'm willing to adapt myself to change, and if I'm willing to anticipate change, you will find some fantastic opportunities that are coming up, which were not there just before this pandemic hit us. So the world keeps changing, newer things keep coming. And if you take up, it's just a question of attitude. If I say that, it's that cup is half empty or half full. If I say that, yes, these 2 years have brought about a revolutionary change in the way we look at life and the way we do things, and I am going to learn from that and I am going to move forward, I assure you, you will get back that motivation. It will take a little bit of time and effort, but you will be able to do it.
That addresses your concern, Aditya. Do you have another question?
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Khwaja. Ms. Khosla, I wanted to ask you, this online shift to the pandemic has forced so many students into a more sedentary lifestyle, because now we're forced to sit in front of screens for the same amount of time we used to spend running around school, chatting in hallways, all these exercises. But now we're just in front of a screen constantly. So I wanted to ask you the same thing. Are there any habits we can form to bring back this healthy lifestyle as we go on to the return of normalcy? Because we have seen that schools have started opening up again. So
yes, I think with the sedentary compulsion of the sedentary lifestyle during the pandemic, we saw many kids getting out of shape. Not only kids, actually, even adults. And it was again, too little activity and too much of the wrong food. And also maybe, like we spoke in the beginning, anxiety and eating the wrong comfort foods led to this. And so I think the simple thing to understand is that carbohydrates are the foods which are the energy giving foods. They give you fuel to perform our work. But when the consumption of fuel, the energy requirement is so compromised, is so less, we need to understand that the carbohydrate consumption is only extra will only convert into fat. It's not required. So we need to bring that quotient down in the diet. And where are the carbohydrates coming from? The simplest is, of course, sugars. Then we have all the rice and the roti and the, the breads and the bakeries and the biscuits and the rusks and all the sweet dishes and all the other, junk based food, which is all rich in carbohydrate. So there is really little room for those kind of foods, and our energy consumption has gone down. So our energy requirement in terms of carbs has to come down. So the thing about carbs is, or carbohydrates, is that they are addictive. So when you are trying to reduce them, your body begins to ask for more. It's like a drug. So you have to be very aware of this. And in the first 2-3 days, it may take you, suppose you're trying to cut down on your bread consumption or your chapati, you may have a transition time of 2 to 3 days. Be prepared for that. And then substitute those, that kind of calorie from carbohydrates with vegetables, with nuts, with good fats and proteins, so that you don't feel the craving. And then within 3 days, your body will start performing differently. And you will feel, the benefits of this kind of conversion. And that's what is really also going to, even though your college has started and your activity has gone up, these habits will in the long run help you feel better and perform better on all fronts. So I think this hopefully should answer your question. And just because you started walking and just because you started playing, it doesn't mean you take liberties with these foods, because you have accumulated extra stores which you need to get rid of. And remember one thing about nutrition or food and diets and individuals, that we are all different and our realities are different. So one size doesn't fit all. So while I'm making a generic statement, maybe individuals have different needs.
Absolutely. We have Fioni. She's a student from the Children's Academy, Mumbai. Fioni, can you please ask your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, sir and ma'am, for giving such beautiful advices. And I would like to address my question to Ali, sir. My question is that can negative thoughts be a hindrance in our studies? And if they are, what should we do to avoid them?
The negative thoughts are inevitable. Don't fight them. Accept them. What could be negative thoughts? My friend is not talking properly to me. My mother is going on harassing me, saying that I'm not studying, or I haven't been able to, get a hang on those formulae in mathematics, which I'm having difficulty. These are all what we call as negative thoughts, right? If you try to push them away, they keep coming back to you. Accept it. Say that, yes, I am feeling bad because I'm not able to do those formulae. I am feeling bad because mom told me that this. I am feeling bad because my friend is ignoring me. Let those thoughts come freely to you, accept them, and then say, what can I do about it? How is there something to bring about a change? Can I go and talk to that friend? Can I request some time from mama when she is in a good mood and talk to her? Can I take the help of some expert in maths and get this thing done? In the extreme case that there is no result, no, this friend of mine just doesn't want to talk to me, then learn how to cope. Like we said in careers, plan A and plan B, you can always have plan B for something else also. So this is the trick about these negative thoughts. Allow them to come.
Making peace with it, rather. Yeah. So we have another student from DPS Lava, Nagpur. Her name is Surabhi. Surabhi, can you please ask your question?
Yes, thank you. My first question is addressed to Dr. Ali. I wanted to know that what are some things we really need to pay attention to so that we remain stress-free and confident during our exams?
Yeah, there are two levels to it, prevention of stress and bringing down your stress when it has come up. Now, I think we have come to the stage where we are far beyond. With the exams round the corner, I don't want to talk about how you could have prevented stress if you had started off in the beginning of the year. Let's now talk about reducing the stress. Exactly as Ms. Ishi Khosla said about nutrition, the same thing applies to your mind. Everybody has their own way of bringing down stress. Somebody can bring down stress by punching a bag. Somebody can bring down stress by doing a vigorous workout in the gym. Somebody can bring down stress by chanting a mantra or reading some scriptures. Somebody can bring down stress by listening to music. So every one of us has our own stress busters. You must identify. I'm sure if you put a little effort to it and you talk to one or two people who are close to you, you will find that yes, when I do this, I feel nice. Yes. Now you increase practice of that and do it on regular basis. So in the morning, let's say my stress comes down if I do some sketching or something creative. Do it in the morning, do it in the afternoon, do it in the evening. Few minutes each, but your stress will definitely come back. And do not aim for completely negating your stress. There is a thing called eustress, eustress, which is the good stress. Some amount of stress actually pushes you to perform. So don't think that I have to completely get rid of stress. If I can get it to manageable levels, that is good enough for me.
Survi, did you have another question to ask?
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to ask one question to Ms. Ishi Khosla. We know that the board exams this time are being held in April, and where I live in Nagpur, it is going to be very hot. So, are there some kind of diet? Is there some kind of diet or special foods which can protect us from heat?
Yes, of course, the choice of food, we also know that hot and cold foods exist, and the choice of food that you make can also make a difference to support your body. And so the obvious thing is water. You need foods which are cooling and which have a high water content. So these are all your vegetables and fruits, the watermelons and the melons and the whole variety of fruits that are available in summers should be consumed. Foods like even cucumbers and kakri and other salads are extremely useful. Kokum is like a South Indian tamarind, is very cooling and has a great digestive effect also, positive effect on your gut. So try and do that. And buttermilk, of course, is, charch and buttermilk are very cooling. And avoiding too many spicy foods, avoiding fried foods and curries is a good idea. And clearly avoiding junk. I don't need to say that again to all of you. And I think also eat your portion should be less so that the body's demands on digestion are limited. And so you eat food which is easily digested and facilitates digestive rest, and so that the body remains cool. And hydrating yourself with things like coconut water, nimbu pani, and value added drinks, or even plain water without sugar. Just make sure, even if you're taking something sugary, it should be very minimal. And avoiding fruit juices, because we are largely sedentary, we are not exercising. Fruit juices offer a lot of sugar together. So eat the fruits, but avoid fruit juices. And on the other hand, take vegetable juices, which can be cooling. And there can be a combination of vegetable and combination of vegetable and fruit juice. The very simple one is that ABC juice, which people are consuming. And there is a reason for that. Apples, beetroot, and carrot. And beetroot particularly is very useful for calming yourself. It has a effect of nitric oxide and dilation of your blood vessels. So have this kind of juices. And reduce your intake of like I said, the carbohydrates in excess, spoken to you earlier, and have more vegetables and fruits, and you will feel the difference.
I think this is one very important point that a lot of parents would probably like to note. So next up we have Sharanya RS. She's a student from Bhagawan Mahaveer Jain College in Bangalore. Sharanya, can you please ask your question?
Yeah, sure. I would first like to thank Dr. Ali and Ms. Ishi for enlightening us about stress and the good nutrition that will help us deal with exam. My first question is to Dr. Ali. Can you give us some tips on how to efficiently manage time during exams and when we just have few weeks left to face a board exam?
Yes. Time is a commodity. This is the only commodity which never comes back. You're all aware of that. So we have to make do with it. But let's start with something as simple as, if you say that there are 40 days left for the exam and I have got 10 chapters to study. So I will allot 4 days per chapter and I'll complete all the 10 chapters in 40 days. It never happens. If you have 40 days to study before the exam, inevitably 2 days you may fall sick. One day your favorite cousin will turn up and demand, so I'm here only for one day, please be with me. One day there'll be a wedding in the family, one day something else. So that Murphy's law is there that, if something has to go wrong, it will go wrong. So first thing you do is knock off 20%. Tell yourself that I don't have 40 days, I have only 32 days. The next thing to do is to tell yourself that how much time do I allot to each of the issues. I told you that there are always inevitably some subjects, something which are little boring or little difficult. When you are in a fresh mind, when you are relaxed, that's the time to study these for a very short period. Because the more you spend time, the more you start getting pulled down and you feel, oh, nothing is going in my head. I've been sitting for 2 hours doing this. Have a quick review, jot down some points or whatever it is and move on. Maintain some sort of a timetable. In fact, it helps to know, as I told you, those which are the most difficult ones. If you can keep transferring them, that these are the ones which earlier I didn't have, but now I am moving on to better things. The other thing is to check out during the day, which are your peak times and which are the times that you can do well. Sometimes it helps actually to take some breaks. If you're the type of person who feels very tired at times, like Survi was saying, if you're in a city which gets very hot during the exams, it's better to take an hour off in the afternoon, relax, go to sleep under a fan or whatever, and be more up to it instead of pushing yourself. And I am a great propagationist of taking breaks. Very few of us have long-term attention span. Many of us can't really study beyond 30 minutes. Our attention span starts going down. Nothing wrong in taking a 5-minute break. Actually, it is like that story about it's like the story about that woodcutter who forgot to sharpen the axe and he would go on. So never make that mistake. No, I've got only so many days left. I've got so much portion. The more you keep doing that, the more you get into trouble. And last point in this is, when the exam has really come close, out of those 10 chapters that you had to do, if you are good in 8.5 and 1.5 chapters, you are really is not going into your head, stop reading it. Tell yourself, now I don't have time. I've got 4 days left for the exam. I'll keep revising those 8.5 chapters so that I will be able to go in the exam and I will not forget. I will not get stressed out. I don't mind. I'll give up this 1.5 chapters. The worst that will happen is I'll lose X marks over it. I'm not aiming for 100 out of 100.
If I may just quickly intervene, Doctor, and ask you, how frequently should one take a break? Yeah. So what is the typical attention span, and when does a student really need to take a break?
Be truthful to yourself that when you notice that your attention span is going down, it can happen anytime after 30 minutes. Some of us have a maximum attention span of 30 minutes. If you feel that 35-40 minute your attention span is going down, don't fight it. Take a break and get out. If you feel you can do it for 45 minutes, nothing like it. If you can do it for 60 minutes, great. Beyond that, even if you can, I still recommend, even if your concentration is good, take a 5-minute break. The only thing that happens is that when you want, the moment, last 1 hour you were sitting quietly and reading, and you thought mom is somewhere in other part of the house. The moment you get up, she suddenly turns up, from nowhere. And she says, what are you doing? No, ma, I wanted a glass of water. No, I'll get you a glass of water. You sit down, you don't get up. Why do moms do that? Because they know that when you take a break, you take a break. Very difficult to get you back. Now, if you can discipline yourself and say, I'll set an alarm, 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, that alarm will ring and I'll come back. And equally important, what do I do in those 5 minutes? Don't get into a conversation with a friend. Don't start watching something on the TV or on Netflix. Don't get into any such things where your mind gets diverted. Ideal would be to stretch out.
Okay.
Exercise all your limbs. Get up. Ms. Ishi told you that it's very bad to be sitting for hours. So make sure that you get up, stretch out all your limbs. If possible, take a nice brisk walk. Even if you're locked up in the house, go to the terrace, go to the balcony and just walk up and down. Drink water, as she told you very rightly. Do these small things. Maybe wash your face. Give yourself in the hot weather, wash your face properly, have something to drink. And when the alarm goes in 5 minutes, get back to your studies.
Absolutely. Now, while we are discussing, we also have a couple of parents who are joining us. We have Ms. Srividya Sainath. She is the parent of a class 10 student from Heritage School, Kolkata. Ms. Srividya, could you please ask your question?
Yeah, part of my question has already been answered by the wonderful panelists. Thank you so much, both of you, for this session. What I wanted to ask was, the other part of my question is, this is for Dr. Khwaja. This academic year has been a very extended one, particularly for class 10 and 12 students. It started somewhere last April and it's still on, and more than a year. And they've had multiple exams, like 2 pre-boards and 2 final exams now, and a lot of other exams in between. So with my son and all of his friends, I see that there is a kind of a mental fatigue. How many times do we keep doing the same thing? So you spoke about breaks. I, as a parent, understand it's very important. But ideally, I would send him down to play. But now contact sports are a little scary in this pandemic times. Or the other things that he loves are involving screen time, when I think he'll come back more distracted. So what does one do? How much of this break should be regulated, or should we intervene, or leave it to them to discipline themselves? So that is my concern as a parent, while I understand it's important to get over that mental fatigue.
Yeah. While I do understand that some of the parents may be scared of contact sports and all that, but I'm sure there are very ways. Definitely nothing to do with the screen. Let me be very clear on that. No leisure activity, no breaks, no this thing should have anything to do with any form of screen, be it the phone, be it the tablet, be it the TV or whatever, laptop. So it should be away from the screen. And secondly, it should involve physical exercise and mental stimulation. Now, depending on the circumstances, depending on the time that the parents can spend, depending on who else is available in the house to help out with the child, if you can start doing activities and games and whatever it is, go out into the nature, even if there's a small park or there's some open space somewhere, go there, go onto the terrace if you have one, and observe the stars and start looking at them, observe the clouds, even give rest to your eyes. That is also equally important. We look at all the other parts of the body, but we neglect the eyes. There's an ancient technique called Tratak, T-R-A-T-A-K. It goes by, if you remember, Arjuna was supposed to hit the eye of that parrot. And when he said that I don't see anything except the eye, he could shoot the eye. So Tratak is a technique by which you look at one object very far away as possible, and keep staring at it till everything disappears. Do it for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 1 or 2 minutes, that's it. And slowly get your eyes back and do it. It's a wonderful relaxation for the eye. So there are so many of these things which we can go on doing. We have been doing this on a continuous basis throughout these last 2 years. People come to us, despite all the stigma and all that, there are a lot of enlightened people, parents who do reach out. So we have been continuously, even when the lockdown was there, we were doing online. After the lockdown got over, we are doing online, offline, on phone, in person and all that. In fact, I just quickly wanted to introduce our career counselor who has been with me. Her name is Meera. And on a daily basis, I think we deal with not less than 5, 10, 15, 20 queries, all to do with what we have been discussing, and more so with careers. That's another thing which I felt, that if you have a goal, And if that goal is realistic, and if you're working towards a goal, automatically your focus, your concentration improves. So this is Meera for you.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. So also, Dr. Ali, we have another parent. Her name is Ms. Sharika Anjum. She is a parent of a class 12 student from Kenshri Public School, Bangalore. Ms. Sharika, can you please go ahead and ask your question?
Thank you, Reshma. Hello, everyone. It's been great here. So as a parent, I have two concerns. So if anybody can answer it. One is, how do I ensure that my child is getting adequate sleep, especially considering how most of their work, even, their notes, assignments, revision updates that come and the group discussions they have, everything is on their phone. It's on their gadgets. How do I ensure that they're having enough rest for their this one? So I really like that to be answered. As a parent, how do I ensure that they're getting enough sleep? So
what cannot be avoided by the screen, if it's to do with academics, there's no choice. Hopefully things are coming back to what I call as the old normal, where we'll be reducing the screen time and we'll be more, on live and on hand and all that. But today, the moment the academic part is over, ensure that your child gets away from the screen. That's what I told you a minute back also, and I'm repeating it. And when you're talking about sleep, minimum 1 hour, preferably 2 or 3 hours before sleep time, see that your child does not have anything to do with the screen. It should always be looking around, playing around, talking to people, going into the balcony or terrace, walking around, if possible, even reading some nice, interesting books or listening to music. There's so many things that can be done, and that really improves sleep. If your mind is given an opportunity to slow down, to start calming down, automatically the sleep improves. And of course, there are other factors like, how good is the bed and the pillow and all these things? How is the temperature in the room? How is the lighting in the room? That makes a difference. As far as possible, the light should be very minimal so that it has a soothing effect. All these things, if you take care of, sleep should not be a problem. Ms. Ishi, if she wants to add something.
Well, I think very rightly said about screen time and preparation. And I think not having caffeine too close to bedtime is also a very important way of addressing this issue, and not having very heavy meals at night, late at night, that part of the evening helps. The lighter the meal at night is important. Some people say that, oh, we didn't have too much and therefore we couldn't sleep, but that's really a matter of habit. But if you get used to eating the right, not feeling bloated and heavy, that's important, and easy to digest food again. And there is something to be said here at this opportunity I'm going to take for all the parents and children who are listening, that if there are chronic issues, if there are persistent problems with anxiety, with forgetfulness, with concentration, with memory and learning, and or other behavior issues, or in general panic attacks or mood swings, depression and abnormal behavior, do look out for a professional who can guide you through food sensitivities. And in my practice, and then there was something about negativity also, so too many negative thoughts. All of these in my practice, I am able to deal with very effectively by going into the gut and issue of food sensitivities, whether it's wheat sensitivity or dairy. Sometimes it's both, sometimes it's just one. Giving maybe elimination of these trigger foods and adding probiotics and gut support really is very, very useful in not only managing, but also reversing these conditions. So I would strongly suggest that any parent who is suffering from this, or any child, or even sometimes anger issues, too much of anger and irritability, if it is just a short-term thing, I don't think we need to look at it as worrisome. But if it is happening repeatedly, then do check it out.
Yes, absolutely. I think the important take home is to ensure that professional help should be sought when necessary.
And this includes sleep disorders also.
Okay. So we also have another student who's joining us. His name is Shreyansh Vikas Mishra. He's from Sai International School, Bhubaneswar. Shreyansh, can you please ask your question?
Yes. So my question is for Dr. Ali. So means during this exam preparation time, many students, they invite critical comments that don't get so involved with friends and stuff like that. So during exam preparation, should we have contact with our friends, or should we like cut off from the outside world completely?
Don't cut off from the outside world. That is absolutely, we've been cut off as it is very badly for the last 2 years. Be in touch with them. Only thing that I told you earlier, keep away from these doomsday fellows. Oh, nahi, this time it is going to be like that. I am told this is what is going to happen. You'll get 10 questions from that 7th chapter, and we will not be anybody who talks that language, keep away from him. Similarly, even in general, when you are interacting with friends, this is the time to talk about non-academic things. Talk about what you're going to do after the exams. Talk about what, when the restrictions are removed, what games we are going to play, where we are going to travel, what we are going to. Life is full ahead of you. We have gone through the worst, and now it's time to plan out something nice. So talk to your friends about that. What are you doing about this? What are skills that you have learned? Talk about careers. Talk about your future. How do you want to do it? Yeah, I was thinking of being a doctor, but now I'm inspired by Ishi. I think I'm going to be a nutritionist. Hey, let's find out, how does one become a nutritionist? What are the courses that are there? Get into all these type of things, and you will find that positive peer support is a great motivator. It will help you.
Thank you, sir.
Right. So we are coming to the last questions.
Yes, we are in fact coming to the end of the discussion, Dr. Ali. So I'd like to thank Dr. Ali and Ms. Ishi for joining us. If you have any concluding remarks, Dr. Ali or Ms. Ishi?
From my side, I can only tell you that these are all day-to-day issues which can be tackled. There is nothing which cannot be tackled. Maybe one odd person, 1 out of 100 or 500 may suffer from some major disorders or something. Even parents, I'd like to reassure them that even if you think that my child is not getting sleep, my child is not getting concentration, my child is not getting good marks, all of those things, and day in and day out, as I mentioned to you, we do it. We provide free counseling. You can just log on to banjaraacademy.org, and you can either send us a mail or call us up or drop in if you happen to be in Bangalore. We provide free counseling. We don't charge money for it. Anybody is welcome. People like Mira and all my team is there. Monday to Saturday, we are available. So seek help. What Reshma said about the stigma, you at least start setting an example by overcoming that stigma. I want to improve my quality of life, and that is the reason why I'm moving on. I want to improve my health, so I'm going to a nutritionist. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. Ishi, would you like to add?
Absolutely. I very happy to hear such common sense words of wisdom. And also food is something which I've always believed we love our food and we enjoy our food, and it must be enjoyed for taste, pleasure, but it also should be nourishing you. And in case you are not feeling energetic or you're not feeling happy, do look at your food and your lifestyle, including your exercise, and you can transform yourself with just the right kind of food choices that you make. So it's a very powerful tool, and it can make a difference between good health and ill health, and good marks and not so good marks.
Certainly, adopting the right lifestyle is very important.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank Dr. Ali and Ms. Ishi for joining us in this discussion and giving your valuable inputs. I would also like to thank students and parents who've taken time to join us in this discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and bye-bye. Best of luck.